Dong Haitron created Bagua almost 200 years ago. Who would have thought that it eventually would have led to the day that I would have met my master, Wu Guozheng. Wu Guozheng has always said, if you train diligently, then I will teach diligently. What began as a few techniques, through research and training, very quickly became dozens, then hundreds. Later on, he also taught me about culture and food. And when I finally got married, he acted as the role of my father because my own father couldn't travel too far. We had our many successes and victories together, and he introduced me to masters of many different trades and styles. It's an honor to have been able to have played a role in this culture, and I will forever pass the teachings of my master to anyone else who wants it. Single striking. This is using the core of the hips, turning one direction, right into the next. Now the range changes depending. You can use the elbow, you can use the back of the hand, the palm, and you can even turn from the limbs and use forward and backward striking. It's important to make sure it all is generated from the ground. So as you step, use your footwork, whether it's a half step or a changing step. Now we're using the T-step, same principle, but now my attacks go from one side to the other. I'm using slow-mo this time to help you see that the energy generated is not coming from the swinging of my hand, but from the turning of my body. Now we're using more hand options in the front. These are defensive tactics. And as I said before, the hands can turn. So I can come over or from the side. It depends on the shape of the opening. Let the body turn, and it will naturally fit into that opening. And the more you swing to one side, the more momentum you get to the other side. But let your stopping point be exact. Now we're doing the close roll, which means I'm close enough that it's going to be basically rolling off my opponent using this rolling sphere. Elbows, forearms. We're using palm strikes now, but with the arm in a vertical position as well. These are great for defense and offense. Here I'm doing a step from the previous video showing you on the pad how it works. And this is the defensive sphere. And you see, just by tightening my body, both upward and downward, I can create a shield by aiming with the elbow. So I keep that spherical position. And make sure here it's not leaning as much as it is adjusting, basically aligning for a different attack. But my footwork is still fluid. Start with a simple pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then trying to use your footwork and see if you can move around freely as he tries to hit you in those places. Then of course, the next step is for him to attack you randomly. And get comfortable using that spherical shell to hide it. Now you'll see how the footwork gives me an extra sponging kind of tactic that I can use, which will let me be able to start to shoot in. You don't want to sit back defensively taking attacks all day. So when you're doing this practice, you want to start looking for openings. But first, I'm going to practice entry. So I'm doing the under over, going under it, going over it. It's great to have a partner who can really help you see how the movement works. But you can still do these movements on the corner and on the wall. You just won't have the ability to practice reaction. Here I move in, I take the backside. Now I'm crossing the guard. You'll see this movement later on, I'll call it an overstep. But this one's going horizontal, and later on the other one comes in vertical. The shoulder bump, another good entry tactic with the sphere. I just turn the energy back while stepping straight through him. Sometimes one bump is all you need, especially if you're in a low position. If you have a good structure, any kind of meeting, you should come out on top. Now this is the seek and find game. Now you're looking for those entries. See, you gotta use moving footwork. You're not entering with your elbow, you're just closing the gap with your feet and letting that spherical position of your body dominate. So your structure and footwork together here are best friends. And if he's really trying to tap you, you should take some shots, but still practice getting in, even after taking a shot. Practice a grab. It's important not to just forget about your other tools while you're practicing. You'll see here I'm doing the sphere, but I never forget about my other tools. They exist too. But it's good to isolate a training idea or a concept so you can really develop the skill and then blend it with everything else. Here's a wrap, also from that spherical shaping of the body. Now I'm combinating after I see it. Combinations are usually best to practice. People always take more than one hit to go down. Use the sphere, turn, elbow, strike, and finish. Now this is the deflecting sphere. I use the sphere and I let the energy roll past me. I just guide it past me. One way and then the other way. You'll see over here my structure is solid, the same circle. Now I can tighten it and modify it. You see I can stretch it and bring it together more depending on the position. But it's important to let your arms not try to do the work. It all comes from the hips, the waist, and good footwork. Try different footwork techniques while doing this movement. And let the partner really crash into you. It's just a pad. It's a good chance to see if you can really throw him off. Bouncing means that you absorb the attack, you throw it using the hips, and you throw it back at him. It takes good timing, but mostly relaxation. To take the energy in completely, not be thrown off balance and throw it back. This is all the rolling sphere. The sphere naturally is more like a ball. It comes in, goes out. Now we absorb and we counter. This is much more realistic in the approach. This energy comes in, absorb it, give it back to him. But not in just one motion, in combination form. Turn one way to the next. This lets you do nice fluid combinations. Let the arms relax, and they will naturally find the correct trajectories. Here we're going to practice some wrist defense movements. Now I just move back, I absorb his energy by using the sphere. Rolling sphere one direction, and that puts him in a lock naturally. So I sink my weight as he grabs. Using the multi-step here, I can step behind him. This is the backwards multi-step. That's half of it. When I use both steps, first the sphere, then step, another step, and from here I just drop my weight. We'll see it once again. When you drop your weight, it's very important that one, you relax and you have a balanced stance. All the weight is on the joint. Practice these carefully, they are dangerous movements. The bicep, then I extend, first Bible, and extend into the opponent. You see how tight I am here, so this automatically forces the joint. He could fall, but more than likely I'll break the joint first. Bible, continue your step, weight going forward behind the opponent. The joint is broken and he falls. And this is for collar defense. I do the same sphere motion in the beginning, rolling one way as he grabs. I don't want him to let go. I keep the other hand to keep him trapped. When I grab that, by bringing the sphere, I control his weight through his wrist. Looking at it again up close, that wrist is tucked in there so it can't leave. And I pull back. Afterwards, of course, you finish him off. Depending on conditions, you strike the opponent, or you can just escort the opponent. This is a grab from the bottom and top. I still raise my weight, and I leave him open. As I sink my weight here, I raise my elbow up. It's exposed. And the weight from my hip also forces a joint lock using my body. My body is the biggest part of this weapon. Just doing the circular motions you'll see here, I've locked him using my face. Because it's all physics. Flow of motion. Now I'm moving off of his punch or his attack using a bicep, and it automatically exposes him when I use the sphere. I can step into him, giving him a strike, or I can just pull him back, releasing that energy. But it's the direction change that's going to lead to the finish. Once I change directions, now he's locked automatically. He puts his gears, and basically he becomes part of the gears of the machine. So whatever I do, I move one direction, then the next, and this is the real secret of Bagua. Changing direction suddenly. It will create a perfect strike or a takedown. Here we're locking the arm and I hold it twice. So as I step in, counter the second movement, step in, and now I can break that arm 2 times just to make sure it's a clean break. It's a double knot. This is with the turn, but I want to practice with this first knot so you can see how it works. As I'm striking him into the face, the real danger is his arm getting broken again. Step in, strike. Keep the body close and strike. Most internal styles don't work because they don't get close enough. They stay too far away because they're afraid to get hit. This sphere allows you to get in close and do the movements you want. This is the overstep, as I said before. Now I'm stepping past his punch, over his punch. That's a strike. It also allows for more options. Once you step behind an opponent, you can appear again in front of him. If you get interrupted, continue to do that spin. Spin with that movement and let it go. There's no movement that can't be countered. Now I come back the other direction. Here I make a mistake. I get too close and I scratch his eye. Very dangerous movement here. I don't recommend it for practice. It's an accident. I love my brother. Now we're rolling our sphere into our opponent. This opens up and exposes all kinds of things. You want to open up and lift that rib so it can smash easily. This is the drill we do where he continues to strike, slowly at first, and I continue to counter. He ignores my counters for the most part and continues to go on, because most times when you're fighting, your movements and ideas will get interrupted, and if you can't adapt, then you can't really use anything. So stay fluid, low stance, using the hips. Shift the energy from one direction to another. Using the sphere, you'll see there's lots of ways. I can lower my weight, I can lower my sphere right into his attack. Then I can bring it back and use another sphere to step in. It's important to always use just enough energy, not too much or too little. This takes practice and timing. Now we're going to speed up to medium speed. He's still ignoring my attacks, but this gives me a chance to see what it's like to counter. I look for openings. I roll them off using my sphere. Easy with the elbows. The elbows have a good range of control. It's important to relax in your structure. And don't try to stay away from the punches, because if you're far away, you can only do less. Get close. Use a smothering step. Use the ghost step. As you strike, always be ready for a counter. You see, by turning the waist, the attacks become automatic. I don't have to think about punching. Keeping the elbows low using our shielding technique, and he exposes himself by trying to hit me. It's a chasing trap. Getting close. From the inside or the outside, the elbows are a perfect shell. You see, I get a counter. This is the lock we practiced earlier. Just off a punch.